Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is Empowering Astrology for the week of November 8th through 14th, 2021. Sorry for a little bit of a late start, but if you're watching live, do say hello. And even, of course, if you're not watching live, also say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Always fun to check in around the world and see where we are all watching from. I know some of you are in Australia, it's the morning, or you're here in the United States, just like I am. But the clocks have changed, which now means that it's darker. I guess I'm a little bit not quite in sync with the new time change, but I see some familiar faces in the chat. Hello, I know it's kind of late in London, so thanks for staying up with me. But let's dig in. Well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in the New York City area. And I got my hair cut today, so thank you to the hair room in Jersey City, Pamela. Thank you for my haircut. Good to see you all today. But yeah, if you are new to what I do, I tell people the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. So why do we gather? Well, of course, we want to know what the astrology is for this week and what does it mean for me? Like, how does it affect my sign? But every time we talk about the astrology, and I know we've had some challenging astrology in 2021, we live in challenging times, unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe depending on how you look at it. But through this challenging astrology, how do we use it? How does it open up us? How does it help us to look at things differently? How does it help us to become more in alignment with who we truly are? And who we truly are, it's not the title after our name. It's not how our parents told us that we had to be. It's not how our community says we have to be. It's really to begin to use these energies to open up to something that lives inside of us. And then how do we make it real in our day-to-day life? And I think that's a lot about the astrology of this week, November 8th through 14th of 2021. We have to take a lot of the stuff that's been happening in the sky, especially because it's now November, and especially now because we've had the Scorpio new moon as of November 4th. And how do we make it real? How do we set things in motion? Something that I've been saying all year long. You've heard me say it. It's like in 2021, we got 1 foot in a new life, 1 foot in an old life. And I think November of 2021 is where that foot that we still have in the old life, we need to either face ourselves as to why we were still holding on to something that maybe has long since passed, or face our fears. There's something really scary about going all in on something new and leaving something behind, or taking the next brave steps to integrate a lot of the big changes that we've already been making in 2021. So Scorpio season, it's a season that's meant to be uncomfortable. A couple of weeks ago when the sun went into Scorpio, I did a whole show where I was like, this is the Scorpio show. Let's talk about why Scorpio is so important, because without that discomfort, without that sense of like, oh my God, something moving inside of you, something doesn't change. We don't change because things are easy, unfortunately. And that's the duality between Scorpio and Taurus, two opposite signs from one another. But there's a lot about some of the things that I was talking about in last week's Scorpio new moon, and you can still get I wrote about it. I wrote a new moon report. It's in the show notes, the show links, and it's also on my website. So in that new moon, there's a lot of intense energies that are seated. And what are new moons? They're new beginnings. They sort of open up this container of energy that we all live and experience life through for the coming 4 weeks. And we had in that new moon, Sun opposite Uranus. This is a 4-week period that's trying to break us free from something, and probably break us free from ourselves and where we get in our own way. But this is also energies that were seated with what we're going to have this week, which is Mars square Saturn. We also have Mercury square Saturn, Mercury conjunct Mars. And it's important to note that in traditional astrology, which I think, there's a real reason why in traditional astrology, Mars and Saturn are what are called malefics, meaning they're not necessarily the quote unquote good guys. Malefics in astrologies, they make things happen, typically things that you would associate with misfortune. That's a very traditional way of looking at it. I think to defend the role of Mars and Saturn in astrology, we have to understand that everything is energy. Astrology is energy. It's the energy of time. It's the energy of these archetypes of how we live our lives and the cycle of time. But we get to this season and we have to make big changes, and we have to, Scorpio is an archetype. It's one of these 12 archetypes. But, Mars, it's really like a hard force. Same with Saturn. These are two planets that are trying to bring something into reality. But it may be for some of you this week, you feel Mars and Saturn like a brick wall, or you feel it like somebody hit the brakes, or there's a stopping point where something has to be fixed or recalibrated. It's hard to say how this is all going to manifest for you all, but this is rather dynamic astrology this week, and we have to figure out how to navigate it. So what I'm advocating is, like, how do we, us, the 50%, use this astrology? Well, we have to push and to bring something into reality. We have to use that force of Mars and Saturn to make things concrete and make things real. That's why I'm thinking that November, almost at August, November is one of those months where we have to really put things into reality that have already been in motion since the beginning of 2021, really honestly, since the beginning of 2020, actually. But let's look at the astrology of this week, November 8th through 14th, 2021. So we're really opening up this week. We've got the moon in Capricorn as I record this on Monday, November 8th. And we're going to have the moon pretty much in Capricorn and Aquarius this week. These are Saturn-ruled signs. So we're doing Saturn this week. Everybody's favorite planet, my favorite planet. Even though you're like, what? Why would you love Saturn, the planet of discipline and authority and structure and rules and boundaries? Because we need Saturn. Saturn is something that makes things real. There's that word again. Saturn sort of helps us to build and construct for the future, but it's not easy. We're sort of birthing something this month. And so Saturn, I think, with the moon in Capricorn today and tomorrow, and I believe on Wednesday it switches signs into Aquarius. How do we start to make plans? How do we start to strategize? Capricorn is Scorpio's third sign. There's a sense that we have to start to do the planning and the thinking and the weighing, and again, strategize for the future. And then we go into the middle of the week, Wednesday, November 10th. We've got some interesting aspects. We've got Mercury conjunct Mars. So Mercury conjunct Mars is typically, hey, let's go, let's do things, let's do it now, let's do it yesterday. It's a very impatient conjunction. It's doing it in Scorpio, though. And it's doing it in a sign where it is about new beginnings, but it picks up on that laser-like perception of Mercury and Mars and Scorpio. If you're starting something new this week, it better be like real, rock solid, no BS. But there's a sense that you have to do the research this week, especially with Mars and Mercury and Scorpio. But then it's square Saturn. And this is, again, kind of a defense of Saturn squares to things, because there is that traditional look at Saturn squares as bad. And if somebody has two Saturn squares to personal planets, like, I get why it's not fun energy. It says that something is taking time to manifest, which, if we wanted something at a much different stage of our lives, it's a little hard, a little daunting, because something takes time to reveal and to build under the energies of Saturn. So this is why I think that things are really forging and taking their time this month, but at the same time, we have this eclipse on November 19th. So typically things move fast under eclipses. There's a little bit of this push and pull in November 2021. But then, Mercury is square Saturn, Mars is square Saturn. This is where I think that we're going to see two areas of our life come up against each other. Either we have to rectify that hard clash, or we have to figure out how to integrate or make breaks from the past. That's the thing. Eventually Mars will make an opposition to Uranus. That'll be next week. But this is a kind of interesting Scorpio season. It's not your typical Scorpio season. It's one that wants to make a break from the past and really shift a lot of things that maybe we thought would never shift. So, ask yourself, like, how am I going to use this Mars and Saturn energy? Is it to put something into reality? Is it to make a commitment? Is it to plant a stake in the ground, so to speak? Saturn loves commitment. Saturn loves commitment, boundaries, honoring time. So put things back into order with Mars and Saturn. Say no. Maybe that's the good part of Mars square Saturn, is that you need to say no to something that maybe you haven't quite fully been ready to say no to. Because Saturn loves when we say no to the things that we should really truly be saying no to. But then there's Mercury, and there's that sense of commitment and needing, kind of like sobering commitment. And whatever we are choosing this week, it has some lasting power. So I would be very careful about the things that you're saying yes to this week and the things you're saying no to this week, because there's sort of this energy that's really set things in motion. Do keep in mind that this is what's called a closing square between Mars and Saturn. We had the first conjunction in this cycle on March 30th, 2020. So think way back to March of 2020. And you're like, how could I forget March of 2020? It's seared into my memory. But that's when we had the conjunction. We had the opposition, I think was in, I think it was this past July of 2021. We have the square now, and then next April will be the next Mars-Saturn conjunction. So Mars and Saturn, these cycles of manifestation, the things that are manifesting in your personal life, but also in the collective. But, which is really interesting, because we get to Friday, November 12th, and we have Scorpio Sun square Moon in Pisces. And I think that's not right. We have Scorpio Sun trine Neptune in Pisces, and that's a very different energy than Mars square Saturn. Here's the point, and this is a little bit of an intermediate point. I've actually been thinking about this all week. Everybody thinks trines are amazing. They're not. They're great. They're not bad. Trine, which is what's called a 120-degree angle, it's the energy of spirit. It's the inspiration, the vision. It's something that's non-manifested. It's an opportunity. Certainly trines can open things up and give us the help and the aid that we need. So maybe this week there's this other side to all this Mars and Saturn energy, and it's Neptune. And Neptune is sort of helping us to surrender, to let go, to heal, to find compassion for ourselves, maybe find compassion for other people. But it's very different than Saturn. But trines, non-manifested. If trines are like, certainly with the water energy, we can feel it. But it's that energy of the square, the Grand Cross, again, intermediate point. A square is a 90-degree angle that brings things into physical reality. Saturn is bones. It's teeth and bones. It's structure. It's something that's, again, it's real. And Mars, it's that energy and that drive. It's like I say, Mars is the gas in astrology. It makes things go. So maybe you have a beautiful vision this week, Sun trine Neptune, and that helps you to put things into reality and to let things go. But it's kind of a very different vibe. We leave these hard energies of Moon in Capricorn, Moon in Aquarius, and then by Friday we have the Moon in Pisces picking up on the energies of Neptune, Saturday, Neptune. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a floaty vibe going into the weekend. Use this energy to dance, have fun. Don't have too much fun. Sometimes when Neptune is strong in the astrology, it's not good to overuse anything that is Neptune related, because it can really bring you far away from yourself. Do it for spiritual pursuits, healthy spiritual pursuits. And then, we go into the weekend, and then by Sunday, we have a moon in Aries, and that's going to really heat back up the Mars-Saturn square. So kind of a lot of ebb and flow this week, some heavy energies. And when we go through the 12 signs in a moment, you'll see where these two areas are for each of the 12 signs, where these two parts of your life are coming up against one another. This, of course, builds upon everything that we talked about last week with the Scorpio new moon and what that meant for you. So, Aries. Aries, you have Mars is in Scorpio, it's in your 8th sign, and you have Saturn in Aquarius, which is your 11th. So Aries, this is all about your friends and your community, meaning who can you trust? Who are your friends? Do keep in mind, Aries, that you are in a period, a 3-year period. This is a period that will take you to the beginning of 2023, when you have to get very clear about who your friends are and who your friends aren't. And maybe Saturn, I kind of made a joke, although it's a little bit of a brutal joke, that when Saturn went to Aquarius, it was going to just start deleting people from your contacts. Because Saturn says the people that are in your life right now, they have to be rock solid. They have to be the people that you can rely upon, that you can build your life with, and build your life with for the future. So this is where you're having this clash. It's like, can I trust my friend? Is there an issue with me and a group? And maybe there's a lot of deep emotions that are coming up. I will add, Aries, that Mars, your planet, is in your 8th sign. So this is a period that's taking you from October 30th all the way to, I believe it's the 13th of December, where you're doing a lot of deep inner work. You got to search your soul right now, Aries. You have to face your fears. You have to do the emotional legwork. But I will add, because Mars is your planet and it is making a square to Saturn, do not cut corners, right? Do not cut corners this week. Honor time, honor your commitments, set good boundaries, because Saturn is sort of that energy that's a little bit, will give you pushback, will give you feedback if something's not working. You can always go back, Aries, and look at you had the conjunction back in March of 2020, you had I forget when the second square was, the opposition was in July of 2021. Now here we are at the last square. So maybe you can see a common thread. But of course, this builds upon the things that that we talked about last week with the Scorpio new moon. Taurus. So this square is happening between relationships, because Mars is in your relationship sign. And this is a time when two things may be happening. You feel extra motivated and driven to connect to other people. This can include one-on-one connections. This can include partnership. This can also include meeting new people. But then you have Saturn that's in your 10th. So either you and a partner need to get real. This is if you're in a relationship. This does include other non-romantic relationships. You and your partner need to get real. You're sort of hitting this point where it's like it's either working or not working. If everything is great between you and a partner or a connection, Saturn says, fantastic, wonderful, let's take it to the next level. So maybe this is a week where you're seeing relationship milestones, stepping up, stepping into new roles, new authorities. But if something is not working between you and a partner, then something has to recalibrate or perhaps even end. That said, with Saturn so high up in your chart right now, Taurus, the bar is set high for you. This is not about relationships, and I mean all relationships. It's not about, casual relationships. That's the word I'm looking for. This is about the people, and the people that are in your life. They have to be well oriented for something greater in your life, because Saturn is up in the top of your chart and it wants you to really work on career or taking on responsibilities or truly figuring out where you belong in the world. My joke is for Taurus is that you have to figure out right now what you want to be when you grow up. But you are having a lot of dynamic tension that's happening, because I will say next week you're going to have the Mars-Uranus opposition, that whatever you and a partner decide, it has to be completely authentic to who you really are. And I think that there's some negotiation that has to happen, and maybe it's a little bit of some hard negotiation right now, Taurus. Gemini. So Gemini, the square is happening between your 6 signs. So Scorpio is your 6th sign. This is a time when you are working hard. You're putting your actions and your desires towards getting projects done, working, health, wellness, projects. I said projects. But then you have Saturn up in your 9th sign. So in general, Saturn in your 9th has been asking you, what do you believe in? What's your truth? What's your convictions? What do you stand for? And Saturn is really trying to get you to, I could make some bigger decisions in your life. I think that the role between the 6th and the 3rd, I'm kind of doing some intermediate astrology, is when we have to gather information and then we have to discern. So even though Mars is in your 6th, let's not forget that there is that push and that pull that's happening between your 9th and your 3rd right now, Gemini in English. I think that there's a big focus on education at the moment, education in all varieties. Educating yourself about issues or the world, really figuring out what your philosophy is, what does everything rest upon in your life. But that said, I think that whatever actions, whatever works, whatever services, whatever deeds you're doing right now, it has to be in alignment with some sort of truth or conviction. And I will say, and this is the case for everybody, especially because Mercury, your planet, is in the mix, don't cut corners this week, Gemini. Really honor time, your commitments, boundaries, and maybe that's the other thing, is Saturn is setting some hard boundaries in your life, and take seriously everything that you're saying, doing, thinking, and working on, because Saturn is setting the bar higher for you right now, Gemini. You don't have it the same way as some of the other signs, but Mars square Saturn is sort of that moment when you have to take a step up in your life and build towards the future. Cancer. So Mars is in your 5th sign. So this is a time when Cancer is really feeling itself. At least that's the idea. What does it mean to feel yourself? Who are you, Cancer? How do you get in touch with what is inside of you? It's an energy. It's a feeling. It wants to be expressed. Maybe if you're artistic, this is a really creative and artistic time for you. If you are not artistic, Cancer, don't worry. Well, how do you express who you are in other ways? There's a strong need to really be in your sense of self, a strong sense of identity at the moment. But then there's Saturn in your 8th, and you are in a 3-year period where you have to face yourself. So who are you, Cancer? And maybe facing yourself means facing your shadows, facing your saboteur, facing the times that you self-destruct. It's been a little bit of a heavier emotional time, Scorpio, but as you start to really come into the power of who you are during Mars and Scorpio, Cancer, you do have to really face where you can be a little heavy-handed, or maybe people have taken power from you and there's a need to restore balance in your life. And maybe this is a balance about relationships and how relationships have not allowed you to be who you need to be. So strong theme of identity and self-expression and creativity this week, and the times when the self and identity gets a little murky, a little complicated, a little self-destructive. But how do you get rock solid and 100% clear in who you are? Because really this is such a deeper time, Cancer, of doing excavation work of the psyche, excavation work of the soul. But that said, be present with what's coming up, the things that maybe you have not looked at or you've projected onto other people, or maybe stuff that's in a little bit of a blind spot. And maybe this could be a powerful time of personal transformation, and maybe even because Mars is a career planet for you, Cancer, this is a time when you have a big check-in with the role that you play in the world, the direction that you have in your life, and the responsibilities and duties that you carry. Leo, lots going on this November. You're at a big crossroads right now. So you have Mars at the bottom of your chart. So this is the time, especially because it's Scorpio season, to focus on home, family, your living situation, really having your feet planted on the ground and feeling like you have roots, you have somewhere to call home. But that said, you have Saturn over in your relationship sign. So this is a larger arc of time, 3 years in total, until the beginning of 2023, when you, Leo, have to take relationships seriously. And this means all relationships. This doesn't necessarily mean romantic partnership, although Saturn and this part of the chart for Leo can bring in a serious relationship, or make a not serious relationship serious, or end a serious relationship. Nevertheless, this is a time to build connection, to create consensus. It's a friendly reminder, Leo, that you can't do everything by yourself. You need other people. But as you start to realize that you need other people, Leo, don't forget, like, what are your emotional needs? What's deep down in your core, Leo? Because maybe a lot of old stuff is coming up. The bottom of the chart, it's like this well of emotion. It's something that we don't always reveal to everybody. It's only in our inner circle. But that said, maybe this is a big turning point for you this year. If you're in partnership, maybe you and a partner are taking things to another level. Maybe you are settling down, maybe something about home, move, changes in your living situation. But there is that tension between people, relationship, opening up to other people, allowing for help, and also really feeling like you have a lot of security, safety, and stability in your life right now. Virgo, so all this is going down in your third sign. So Virgo, this is a very typically busy time for you. You've got things to do, you have projects, you've got places to go, you've got errands, you've got things to say. And with Mars and Mercury, your planet, maybe you've got a lot to say. I think sometimes Virgo can be a little bit calculating with how it expresses itself. It's sort of, maybe that's the influence of Scorpio on the third sign. But you've got a lot to say nevertheless, and maybe it's all coming out. Maybe you're sharing the things you don't normally share. But that said, you have Saturn in your 6th, and I think that you're really thinking about strategy, discernment. The 3rd is where we gather information. You're gathering information right now, Virgo, and you're having to see how that affects your day-to-day life, your health, your wellness, projects, work, and even service. So if you've got something going on in the work department, you're trying to make choices, you're trying to navigate different directions, different options, and maybe make major decisions. That's the other thing, especially with Mercury in the mix. Maybe you are making major decisions right now, but this is a time when you're really having to look at your day-to-day life and get your day-to-day life in order, and do focus on health right now, Virgo. Of course, that's a broad statement. Take your vitamins, go for a walk, get some fresh air, because Saturn is a longer function in your life right now, really wants you to take your health and wellness seriously. So maybe this is a time when you're gathering new perspectives, getting new ideas, even doing some detective work. But you will you will feel the energies of Saturn this week. So don't cut corners, honor your commitments, really think about your future, and think about the plans that you want to start strategizing and preparing for. You are a Virgo after all. Then we have Libra. So Libra, you've got Venus pointing out that Venus is your planet. It's in Capricorn Capricorn right now. So this is a time for you to focus on family and home. Wait, is that right? Yeah, yep, Capricorn. So sorry to do some quick astrology math. So you have Venus down at the bottom of your chart. You're sort of focusing on home, putting down roots, nesting, and family. That said, Mars is in your money signs. You're very conscious about either the cost of things right now, what you're spending money on, the money you have, and the more even the money that you need. I think that there's an energy of strategizing and trying to make plans and thinking about how you get the things that you need. And it doesn't necessarily have to be money, because we live in a world that's not just money, it's the resources that we need in order to feel safe and secure in life. We all need food and water. For example, we need a roof over our head. So do focus on the basics right now. I think that Libra is a bit security conscious at the moment. I mean that not in a negative way. Like, we all have to be security conscious. I mean, sometimes we take for granted that we can turn on the tap and get water. That's a luxury for a lot of the world, for example. So really think about, what are your basic needs right now, Libra, and how are you going out there and getting them? That said, it is about money and spending and finance, the value of things, and even the value of yourself. So here's the rub. You have Saturn in your 5th sign. So you have to take yourself and take your talent seriously. And very often we do not take ourselves or take our talent seriously. So maybe you're thinking, is it valuable? Am I valuable? Are my talents valuable? And maybe in your professional life, you need to make sure that you are getting compensated for your talents, or maybe just that sense overall that you are contributing something of value to this world. But that said, how do you get more into your creative energies right now, Libra? There's a sense of really forging and building and creating something right now, and really having to push through the parts of you that self-sabotage, and because you are doing some deep work right now, Libra. But face your inner saboteur, the part of you that doesn't think that you are worth it. A lot of us don't think we're worth it, and how that sense of lack of value of self, or lack of value in other places of your life, show up because it's not helpful. And Saturn says it has to end. What is it? Isn't Saturn week? It's always Saturn week. That's the thing. We always have Saturn to answer to. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of Saturn, which sounds a little bit strange, but look, I mean, just do what Saturn wants. Life is a lot easier. It's not necessarily always softer or sweet. Saturn's a little bit of a harder energy, but it will help you build things for the future. Scorpio. Happy birthday, Scorpio. And if your birthday was on the new moon on the 4th of November, plus or minus a couple of days, it's a powerful new moon for you. It means the coming year is going to be new in some way, a powerful new chapter. But that said, if you're celebrating a birthday, happy birthday. You are bringing forward these energies into the new year. This is a time to build and construct, Scorpio, which may seem a little counterintuitive because you're looking around right now, Scorpio, and nothing is the same. Everything is different. It's like everything has been rearranged. But that's the thing, Scorpio. You're really good at strategizing for the future. I just think the hardest thing about 2021 this year is that you haven't been in control. It's about learning to really find your place in all of these new energies. But that said, Scorpio, Mars is your planet. It's in your sign, so it's giving you a lot of strength and power. That said, you've got a rendezvous with Saturn this week. So Saturn is saying, show me the receipts. Show me what you got, Scorpio. And maybe that's not the fun birthday message that you want. Certainly it's the birthday message that you need. So this is a week, Scorpio, to make milestones, make powerful commitments to yourself and this new year that you are stepping into. For example, I'm a Scorpio. I went to the gym this morning, and I haven't been to the gym since 2009. I was doing Pilates, pre-COVID, but it's time to it's funny, it's a little side diversion. When Uranus went into Taurus, which is my 6th sign, I'm a Sagittarius rising, I started running, but that was really short-lived, but it was weird. I was like, why am I running? So today I was like on the treadmill. I was like, that's what this transit is. It's about running or moving. But anyway, I digress. So do something for yourself, Scorpio. Like, make a positive decision, positive choice in your life. Do things that Saturn would approve of. Saturn approves of healthy boundaries and limits. Do not overextend yourself right now. Do not cut corners. This is a time when Saturn is looking over your shoulder. It doesn't like when you do things you're not supposed to be doing. This is also a time when you'll get in alignment with the master plan of your life. But the thing is, Scorpio, is the master plan is often not the plan that you thought would be the plan. That's just the way that life works. But that said, you've got some major decisions to make, because Mercury is also in the mix, and Mars will make that opposition next week to Uranus. It is that push and pull between you and relationships, especially as you go into the November 19th Taurus full moon, which is an eclipse. I'm going to do a webinar, so we'll talk about that at the end of all this. But that said, happy birthday, Scorpio. Big, powerful energies. Put it into a positive place in your life. Do Saturn proud. Sagittarius, you've got Mars in your 12th. So Mars is kind of a funny place when it's in the 12th, because Mars is so much about action and drive and motivation, like to go after the things that we want. Except when it's in the 12th, the things that we have to go at, or we use that power of action and drive, it has to be in alignment with something outside of ourselves, meaning source, creator, spirit, the universe, God, whatever you want to say. I know that that's a big statement, but you cannot do ego when any planet is in the 12th. It has to figure out how to take its energies and put it into service and action of something greater. So this is a very spiritual time for Mars, a time when Mars could be better used towards meditation, reflection, and going in. From a very traditional way of looking at it, Mars in the 12th doesn't have a lot of energy. So if you're a little bit tired than usual, just make sure that you are resting, taking care of yourself, because this is not a Mars. It's not an active Mars. It's the action that's happening inward. That said, the tension is happening right now with Sagittarius in the 3rd. So maybe this is a tension between your intuitive voice, the choices that you're making in your life, maybe even the choices that you're making in your life that are in alignment with something outside of yourself. So how do the choices that you make, how are they in support of your highest self, for example? Or you need to look at how you make choices that are against your higher self. Don't do that. But do take your choices, your voice, your mind seriously. And so maybe you are really cognizant of the words that are coming out of your mouth, for example. But that said, Saturn in the 3rd, in some level, does talk about the curiosity of life. You need to take the curiosity of life seriously, just as you take your voice seriously, and know that everything you do, not to get you overwhelmed, Sagittarius, but everything you do and everything you choose, becomes written on the other side. So just know that every choice that you make, it lives beyond you. And how do you make sure that you are aware, you have that consciousness of everything that you're doing in your life right now? So it's a little bit more of a subjective time for you, Sagittarius. And again, you're a very philosophical sign, so you can see this from a philosophical lens, but do the inner work right now. Search your soul. Ask yourself the big questions. Review your life. Review your choices, because that's where a lot of the tension is happening right now. Capricorn. So it's been a little bit of a hard year for you, because your planet, Saturn, has been doing a little bit of a dance with Uranus. So this is, you're a sign, Capricorn, that just by your nature wants to build for the future, do the thing you're supposed to do, create structure, wonderful. But then you have Uranus in the mix, so everything that you are doing right now is being turned on its head. Not chaos for chaos's sake. It's just that you have to make sure that you are actually being you. Capricorn is one of those signs that can get quickly in the groove, so to speak, of what you are quote unquote supposed to be doing. Capricorn is a script following sign, but sometimes, like now, Capricorn has to make sure that the script that they are living is their script, not somebody else's script, not mom and dad's, not their communities, not somebody else. So there is a lot of push and pull on Capricorn to make some breaks right now, to break free of themselves and break free of the limits that maybe they've unconsciously put upon themselves. That said, you have Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius is your second sign. It's about money and income right now, the value that you put on things, the investments that you make, how you earn a living, but also the resources that you have available or don't have available to you. The tension right now is happening between the 2nd and the 11th. So you've got Mars and your sign of friends and community, and this is a time when it's meant to be active with your social circle, or really reaching out to groups, or getting involved in something, or getting involved in a social cause, for example. But maybe you're asking yourself, like, what value do I have in the world? You know, how can I contribute in the world? And maybe even thinking that, you know, do your friends or does your community or does even humanity take what you have to offer seriously? Because you do a lot, Capricorn. That's just the nature of the sign that you are. But make sure that whatever you are doing is well respected and valued by the people in your life. Aquarius. So Saturn is in your sign. Don't forget that this is a 3-year period, Aquarius, of you growing up in some way. It doesn't matter what age you are. You could be 25, you could be 85. But Saturn is putting a lot of pressure on you right now to step up into the next chapter of your life, or even step up into new roles and responsibilities. This is and has been, Aquarius, a time of new beginnings and even radical new beginnings, and seeing how much your life has shifted since 2020, for example. So the tension is happening between you, Aquarius, and sort of these new beginnings that you have been setting forth, for example. But then you have Mars in your 10th. So, you know, as you take on new roles in your life and you set a new course, okay, well then how does that reflect in your career? How does that reflect in the duties and responsibilities that you carry in life? I think there's such a huge push with Mars square Saturn right now for you to really forge something in your life, forge a new direction, forge something in your professional life. And even if you know that your professional life, you don't have a professional life, maybe you're retired, but how do you make sure your life is setting on the course that you need, or the course that is the best course, truly, honestly? But if you are still working, for example, if that's relevant to you, you are at a time in your life where you're at a career peak. Mars in your 10th sign certainly really pushes you and drives you to get out there in the world and make something of yourself. That said, you are really feeling the push and the pull and the tension this lunar month. You're going to have an eclipse in your 4th. You are entering into a longer eclipse cycle where there is going to be changes in your professional environment, changes in your career, changes in direction, and at the same time, changes in your home environment. But to be fair, you've already been seeing, Aquarius, a lot of changes in your home environment over the last 2-3 years to begin with. So lots of twists and turns right now, Aquarius. Do hold on, be flexible, but at the same time, know that you still have within you right now to to strategize for the future and to really align yourself with some direction, some goal, some aim. Pisces, last but not least, Pisces. So Pisces, this is happening. So a little side note for Pisces. And I think Pisces has been in a little bit of an interesting time. Why? Because both Jupiter, which is your planet, Pisces, and Saturn have been in the 12th. The 12th is the last sign of the zodiac. And if the zodiac is the wheel of life, it's the sign that represents the non-manifested world. What is beyond this world? Of course, that's a mystery. That's what mystics and saints and people that, you know, have that connection. They tell us what that's like. But of course, we have to feel it for ourselves. This is a very sacred place for us to be brought to, which is to be brought to the 12th. But it's a time when you are in a place in your life where you are divesting yourself of the past. And it's like Pisces, you are surrounded by 30 years worth of stuff or 20 years worth of stuff. And you're like, do I want to bring this with me? And the answer is you need to actually be very discerning about what you bring with you into this next chapter of your life, Pisces, because when Saturn crosses into Pisces in March of 2023, I realize that's a little over a year away. What you bring with you, it's like you brought something that was invisible into the visible. So use this time well, Pisces. This is more of a statement about, more of a broader statement, Pisces, than about what's happening specifically right now in November. But that said, you know, November is a powerful month in this process of letting go, surrendering. I know these are not fun words, but this is a time, Pisces, when you can't do your ego. And Pisces has this reputation for being such a spiritual sign, but, you know, at the same time, we're all human beings. So Jupiter will get out of your 12th on December 28th. That's a month from now, a month and a half from now. But so you're going to start to see that you are in new beginnings and moving forward. But it's like you've got this part of you that's still in an old life or still in the past or still in this process, this liminal process of letting things go. But that said, the tension is really happening right now between Scorpio, which is your 9th sign, and your 12th. And when you have tension between the 9th and the 12th, it's a very existential time. You are searching your soul. You are trying to figure out, what do you believe in? What's your truth? What's your convictions? What do you stand for, Pisces? And maybe you're realizing that the things that you stood for are not the things that you stand for now. But this is both a subjective and objective time, both about what you believe on a world level, but also what do you believe because you feel it within. And if you do believe something, for example, on an external level, it better make sure that it lines up with something on an internal level. A lot of the things that we believe is because we just were told that this is it. But maybe you need to reflect, meditate, go within, reconnect with your spiritual self, and see if there's a disconnect or see if there's an alignment. For example, we need to, a lot of us, we're just not in alignment with our our spiritual GPS right now. So this is a time, Pisces, where you just need to get back into that alignment. But like I said, it's a very spiritual time for you, Pisces, and a time when you have to, I think, especially with Uranus in your 3rd, really open up to your intuitive voice and listening to the parts of yourself that you don't normally listen to. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of November 8th through 14th, 2021. Quick housekeeping. As you know, in November we have eclipses. That's the thing about this, not just the new moon that we had on November 4th, but it opened up a lunar month that's going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in it on November 19th. So every eclipse season, I do a webinar. It's sort of your deep dive into what's going on this eclipse season. We have, like I said, lunar eclipse on November 19th, solar eclipse on December 4th. These are big points in the astrology of this year. It's when everything can kind of turn on a dime, or a door can close and another door can open. So what will this eclipse season mean for you? My eclipse webinar will be on Thursday, November 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't worry, you can still get the replay if you can't watch live. And then, of course, I'm teaching my first Module 1 astrology class on November 13th, Saturday, November 13th. It's going to be about a 4-hour class. It builds upon another 4 hours of teaching modules so that you can be rock solid in the fundamentals of astrology, because I am teaching you the 5 core fundamentals: zodiac signs, planets, elements, modalities, and polarities. So there you go. All the links are in the show notes, or you can go to empoweringastrology.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram. You can listen to me on Spotify, book a consultation with me. I know many of you are my clients, but so nice to see you all again. Happy Scorpio season, and until next week, bye.